Welcome to a webinar of the VCU RRTC, the Rehabilitation Research and Training Center on Employment of People with Physical Disabilities. I'm Tony Gentry. I'm an Associate Professor of Occupational Therapy here at Virginia Commonwealth University, where I teach and direct an Assistive Technology for Cognition Research Lab and manage a Computer Access Lab. We're going to be talking today about smart technologies for everyday living. I'm here to provide a brief introduction to assistive technologies and how they can provide essential supports at home, at work, and in the community for people with mobility, cognitive, or sensory challenges. In the next hour, we'll look at tools for getting around, accessing computers and smartphones, and using these tools independently. We'll also take a peek at emerging technologies coming down the pike. Finally, we'll look at how to access these tools themselves. That's a lot to discuss, so let's begin. In discussing assistive technology, it can be helpful to dispel an unfortunate and old-fashioned misunderstanding, which is that the word disability means the same thing as impairment. A person may have a physical condition of one sort or another, but that does not automatically equate with disability. Disability is about our relationship to the environment and to the things that we want to do. All of us face disability in our everyday lives. For instance, I see just fine walking down the street, but when I want to read a book, I need to wear glasses, an adaptive device that addresses that disability. When I try to keep track of my credit cards, cash, and ID, I tend to lose things. So my wallet addresses that organizational disability. I live 15 miles from my job, so having an assistive technology, in my case, my car, allows me to get to work on time without undue effort. In thinking about disability and rehabilitation, I teach my students to follow the Person, Environment, Occupation, or PEO model. Under this model, if a person has difficulty doing something for one reason or another, that disability can be addressed by teaching them a new strategy in the person circle, adapting the environment to make the task easier, and this may include adding an assistive technology, or adapting the task itself in some way, perhaps by delegating or redesigning its elements. Any intervention in one of those circles counts as rehab, and the best rehab incorporates elements of all three circles. What we're talking about today, assistive technology, is just one important aspect of that Venn diagram. So, there's something we want to do, for instance, the task required at a particular job, and there's somewhere we want to do it, for instance, a factory floor. And there are the skills and tools we now have that may or may not get the job done in that place. How do we bridge disability to ability? The part of the solution we're talking about right now is assistive technology. What is AT? Well, the Federal Tech Act of 1988 describes it as any item, piece of equipment, or product system, whether acquired commercially, off the shelf, or modified or customized, that is used to increase, maintain, or improve the functional capabilities of individuals with disabilities. Along with that comes any service that directly assists an individual with a disability in that selection, acquisition, and use of an assistive technology device. Both elements are necessary, both the device and the process of assessment, selection, trial, adoption, and follow-along that makes using that device possible. We'll look at some devices now, then come back to the service end. Probably the most familiar AT to most of us are the tools we use to get around. Whether on a bus, roller skates, on horseback, or Segway, these technologies narrow the disabling distance between us and the places we want to go. Many people who have difficulty walking adopt a wheelchair to get around, and they come in a bewildering array of styles. A lady in a market may use a motorized scooter to conserve energy while she shops. A motorized wheelchair can, as we shall see in a minute, do much more than simple transport. Athletes, like these basketball players, use specialized lightweight wheelchairs with cambered wheels that allow for high-speed turns and dashes on the court. And as with many assistive technologies, people become emotionally attached to their wheelchairs. They hack them, adapt them, give them names, make them a part of their own identity. As an example, let's listen to Johnny Kelly, an IT engineer and inspirational speaker. Mr. Kelly, shown here at the gym with his dog, has made his wheelchair much more than just a way to get from one place to another. Here's a video taken from a lecture in our occupational therapy department. See how, for instance, he uses a screen reader on a wheelchair-mounted tablet as a communication tool.
Tool would be this chair I am sitting in. Actually, I'll be talking mostly about my previous chair. It was the same make and model as this one. That was the absolute best chair. She served me faithfully for over 12 years. Bessie was what we called her. And like any other Bessie, she was strong and had a big rear end. My kind of woman. I insist on having a high-end, fast chair. People will say it's safer to go slower than it is to go fast. Not always. You don't want your sweet old grandmother going to cross the street like this. Not a good idea. Back when I was in college, much of the time, I would have to drive my chair to and from class. Round trip of about 10 miles. The good part of the trek was through a not-so-safe neighborhood. Anybody want to take a guess as to how fast I went through that neighborhood? Like a wheelchair-bound bat out of hell. I did this for 3 years, so I perfected the route that I took. I was able to trim it down to about 35-40 minutes. If you do the math, that comes to about 8 or 9 miles an hour. Now for a power wheelchair, that is just stupid fast. Along with my 3 years in college, braving the weather and dangerous surroundings, I've had countless other adventures in my previous wheelchair. This chair I'm in now is only about 5 years old. She's done pretty well, but like with any first love, you never have another quite like it. I have the ability to tilt and recline. I have personally made some extensive modifications over the years. I have configured the drive settings to my personal preference. I have reprogrammed my seating switch to control the back and the legs separately. I've rotated the switch upside down to prevent me from accidentally hitting it and to protect it from any kind of liquids. I've shortened the overall length of the chair by almost a foot. I've removed the foot plates to shorten the chair even more. Now all I have is little foot base, which is all I need. As you can see, I've attached a few large bags. I like to carry certain items with me. Things like duct tape, rope, matches, an orange garbage bag, a spare wheelchair charger, a toolkit, and last but not least, toilet paper.
Mr. Kelly's wheelchair is fast, nimble, and compact. It's not just a motorized chair on wheels. It's his desk, his computer station, his mobile office, and his portable closet. And new technologies are coming fast. Segway, with its gyroscope-balanced rollouts, now has one called the Puma for people who need to sit. The iBot, also gyroscopic, can balance on two wheels, raise from sit to stand so a person can reach high places or talk eye to eye at a party, and believe it or not, it can climb stairs. People who don't need a motorized chair, but who may need some help on hills or long distance, can use magic wheels. Like those toy push cars that take off after you give them a wind-up shove on the floor, magic wheels store up kinetic energy so you don't have to push so hard. And the new Wii e-wheels, still in prototype phase, allow you to plug in your standard wheelchair and instantly turn it into a motorized version for long-distance travel. Anyone who has bought a car recently, especially on the high end, may be amazed at the technologies now available to make driving safer. Backup video cameras, warning sensors for obstacles and blind spots, even tools that warn you if you nod off at the wheel are becoming common. A friend of mine, the law professor Tony Lineberry, has a C6 spinal cord injury. Yet he gets to school and travels out of state on his own in an adapted minivan with assistive controls. But let's let him show you.
Man, what a beautiful day it is today. Of course, every day is a great day if you got the right attitude. You try to focus on what's right, not what's wrong. I've got a lot of right in my life. One of the things that's right in my life is the brand new van that I was able to purchase. My new Honda Odyssey van that I've got equipped for me to drive. And I wanted to share that with everybody today. I'm going to cut off my cell phone so it won't be going off and I won't be tempted to be distracted while I'm driving, because one of the biggest highway safety issues we face now is texting and driving. It's injuring and hurting a lot of people. So turn off the cell phone. This chest strap enables me to use both hands to drive the van. My left hand goes on this tripod, and on this tripod I push forward for gas and I pull back for brake. In order to steer the van, my right hand goes in this tripod. And the concept is zero effort steer. So to steer, I just simply turn whichever way I want to go. It's really effortless, therefore it makes it extremely safe and pleasant to drive too. The control of my left hand not only works the brake and the gas, but it's also how I do the signals. If I flick my wrist one time, it's for the left blinker, twice for the right blinker, 3 times will do the lights, and 4 times blows the horn, and 5 works the bright lights. every time I get behind the wheel and I drive, I realize what a privilege it is to be able to drive, and what a freedom it is for anybody, especially with a person who's physically challenged. But driving opens up a lot of doors for the freedom. I've had the opportunity to speak in 36 states and 2 provinces of Canada, reaching over 1 million people directly. And without the ability to drive, that would have been impossible. The best thing about the van is how comfortable it is driving. Like I said, I had 5 vans. I've driven probably 500,000 miles with hand control. I feel like this is the safest one due to these controls. It's definitely the most comfortable to drive. One of the best features of the whole van, not only for a disabled person, but for anybody, is the backup camera. Those lines tell me exactly where the van's going at any given time, so I don't have to look anywhere, knowing that I can just follow the lines back. Nobody behind me, nothing behind me. Shout out to the Mobility Center of Virginia for making this van possible for me, or putting it together, if you will. My friend Jason Blackwell is the sales manager over there. Jason's a wheelchair user. He understands what it's like to use the products he sells. And also the main mechanic in the back, Patrick Cook. In my view, he's a mechanical genius. Not only did he put this together, but anytime I have the smallest problem, he's right there on the phone to answer it. So I want to give them a lot of credit for helping to put this van together for me.
Thanks, Tony, for showing us your cool new car. In the new and soon category, take a look on the bottom right at the Kangaroo battery-powered car. The trunk opens to a ramp, and you just drive your wheelchair inside and drive away. And then there are the self-driving cars being tested now by Google and other companies. It's possible that some of these will be available in the next 5 years for sale or as adaptations to your car. Driverless taxicabs. Now that's a revolutionary concept. Once you get to your house or place of work, all sorts of high-tech and low-tech devices can make life easier. We're all familiar with water dispensers, alarm clocks, this is a timed dog feeder, and reminder pillboxes. And a shout out to the #1 task support of all time, Mom. Some of you may know Richard DeVilder, the Federal Transportation Agency's Senior Advisor for Accessible Transportation. Born without arms or legs, he lives on his own and manages a busy work schedule. Mr. DeVilder was kind enough to share this video with us, showing how he uses a wide range of tools to manage his everyday life.
Welcome to the day in life of me, Richard. What we want this video to show is how assistive technology is critical for a person with a severe disability to live independently. I was born in 1969 without arms or legs. I was born into an Armenian family that believed I was the result of a sin that either one or both committed. I then went into foster care and grew up with my entire foster family. So what we're going to show you here is exactly what life is day to day for me, using technology and how I learned to do things on my own. In terms of assistive technology, it isn't always what's made at a manufacturer, but it's oftentimes, as you will see, what friends and family have come up with together to make it work for me. A typical day begins at 5:30 a.m., which I immediately go and use my electric shaver. My electric shaver is just a basic shaver that you buy in any store. But what's different is the mechanism by which it is placed into so that I can shave by myself. You will see that it's basic wood that's put together and drilled into a table, of which I'm able to move my face in different directions on the shaver in order to shave myself. I came up with this mechanism because I was getting tired of others who would shave me with straight razors and would cut me, and I felt that there had to be an easier way to make it happen. I need assistance in terms of taking a shower, getting dressed. I'm able to brush my own teeth. I need assistance in terms of putting the toothpaste on, setting up the water and the mouthwashes, and then I'm able to brush my own teeth with using my shoulders and the sink. And what you see that the sink is the stability, and the toothbrush is placed between my shoulder and the sink, and I'm able to move my mouth in whatever direction and begin to turn the toothbrush in order to get certain angles in my mouth. The shape of the toothbrush is important because if it's not a certain shape where I can actually roll it and turn it, it becomes more difficult for me to get the angles that I need while I'm brushing my teeth. I have a shower chair in my shower, which somebody transfers me on. I try to minimize the number of times an individual has to lift me for my own safety and for their own safety. So I do need to be lifted onto the toilet, and from the toilet into the shower, onto the shower chair, and then I go from my shower chair to the wheelchair. In order to accomplish independence in terms of living on my own and going out into the community without an attendant 24 hours a day, I was going to have to figure out how to take myself to the restroom to develop pants that I could operate on my own. The way the pants works, after almost a year of trying different things, is we very simply removed the zipper from the pants and replaced it with Velcro. Then we took some material and developed some loops that get sewed on to the front of the pants. And I have a mouth stick, which the mouthpiece is specially made for my teeth, in which my teeth can fit in nice and securely without hurting myself. And the stick has at the end of it a hook. I'm able to take the hook and put it within the loop and pull. One way to open the pants and another way to close the pants. As I said, it took almost a year to develop those type of pants, but it was very important for me to be able to do that. And because of that, I was able to live independently. Once I'm completed getting ready for work, and I climb up my stairs into my wheelchair, I then head out the door to light rail. The light rail takes me approximately 7 minutes to go from my house to light rail. You'll see that I have to ride on the streets because although we've come a long ways in terms of access, in my neighborhood there are no curb cutouts, which means that I really cannot ride on the sidewalk because I would have to go on and off the sidewalk too often, and it's not an easy thing to maneuver in my wheelchair. Light rail and fixed route and paratransit are the three main ways that I get around Sacramento and other parts of town when I'm in town somewhere. So I use the street to get into the light rail. I take the light rail for about 40 minutes into my office, and then I head into my office, and the first thing I do is go onto the computer and check my emails and begin to respond and to begin to do the documents and work that I need to get done. I have two means by which I use my computer, with a pen or a pencil in my mouth and voice recognition, which is called Dragon Naturally Speaking. Start Microsoft Excel. I have a Kensington Expert mouse, which I use with my shoulder to maneuver around on the screen. And then I'm able to use the buttons, and they're formatted for my purpose, whatever way is easy for me to get around the screen. My day is spent meeting with my staff and meeting with people out in the community. I try to keep up with my staff as to what's going on a daily basis. At the conclusion of my day, I get back on light rail and I head home. Same route typically each day unless I'm downtown at a meeting or somewhere else. Several months ago, I started not to feel well, and so I decided to contact the doctor. By not having any arms or legs, it is very difficult for many medical procedures to be done. Specifically, it's very difficult to get my blood pressure. So on this day, I went into Kaiser for testing to try to figure out how we can measure my blood pressure. Typically for people who are paralyzed and are unable to get blood pressure, there's a test that's done through the eyes. I'm going into an appointment with an ophthalmologist, but it really isn't about my vision. It's about my blood pressure. Although they did a full exam of my eyes, which was important to do while I was there, because transportation to and from medical appointments is very difficult. The primary focus was to get my blood pressure. They were able to use a basic probe and were able to successfully measure the blood pressure. And basically what that is putting pressure on the artery in the back of your eye in order to measure it. It's very difficult, took a while, and there was a risk in what we were doing, but it was important to eliminate the fact of whether or not I was having high blood pressure issues, which I was not. From there, we decided to go and weigh me, and we used the wheelchair accessible scale. What was interesting about using the wheelchair accessible scale is none of us knew what my wheelchair weighed. What was important is that Kaiser had someone available who could lift me out of my wheelchair and put me on a regular scale so I could determine my weight and subtract that from the total weight that we had with me in my wheelchair, which allowed us to determine the weight of my wheelchair for future reference. When going to a medical appointment, what was very important in this process is that I was able to stay in my wheelchair for the most part of the examinations. That allowed me to have a little more control by being in my wheelchair than once I'm taken out. The medical staff clearly were skilled in understanding how to move the equipment and how to arrange my wheelchair for the eye examination. That made a big difference. I was able to sit in my chair, which I'm measured for and I'm comfortable, and not in their chair, and I was able to control. What's also very important throughout my appointment is you'll see that I was giving verbal directions to the medical staff. It's important not to guess or not to think that they know how to assist you, but it's important to communicate with them so that they do know how to assist you, and so that there aren't any mistakes made that could hurt yourself or could injure them. And that's why I constantly gave verbal communication to them as to how to assist me. When I get home, I typically get out of my chair, switch chairs actually, make sure everything is set up, and then I walk over, lay down on my back, and get into my bathing suit, which is already hooked onto the hooks. I typically have my attendants make sure that they put the bathing suit on those hooks each morning so that I'm able to get in it on my own. I need to get back into my wheelchair. I go out to my sliding door, which I have to push open with my shoulder. I go to the lift, and you can see the lift, how it operates. I have two different lifts. I have one at home in Southern California and one at my home in Sacramento. Both lifts have devices hooked up to them so I can operate the controls with my chin, and that's how I'm able to get in and out of the water. It's very important after I transfer to make sure I put the armrest down before I operate the lift so that I don't fall out of the side of the lift as I'm operating it. I go down into the water, I slide down onto my back in the chair, and I slide out of the water. I learned how to swim when I was 9 months old, and the reason that I was taught how to swim was everyone felt that that was the best way for me to get exercise, since it's very impossible for me to use other exercising type of equipment, not having any limbs. The primary purpose is to loosen my back and my neck after sitting in my chair typically 12 hours a day. So I'm able to operate by moving my lower extremities. I also have one toe, and how I move that one toe in what direction propels me in what direction I go in the pool. And then I use the side of the pool to bounce myself around and turn around in opposite directions. I then go right back into the lift when I'm ready to get out. I typically swim 45 minutes to an hour each day, which is very important for my exercise. I swim back into the lift, get onto the seat. I'm able to use my shoulder and my chin to pull myself up out of the water onto the seat. And the seat is slippery resistant. It does not slip, except for if I use the wrong kind of suntan lotion. And I have to make sure that I don't put the wrong kind on, or I will have no grip whatsoever to get back into the lift. I operate the lift once again with my chin, back up into my seat, and I'm able to transfer myself once again in order to do that. I go back into my house, and typically after I swim, I prepare my dinner. My attendants typically prepare my dinner. They usually cook several meals over the weekend and put them in the freezer or the refrigerator and put them in bowls that I'm easily able to access, and then I'm able to pick up with my teeth, and then I'm able to open and close the lids. And so what I do is I operate everything with my teeth, operate the microwave with a pencil and my chin. I'm able to stick it in there and able to heat up the food and pull it out with my teeth. I'm able to pop the lid open by holding the bowl with my shoulder and pulling it with my teeth, and that's how I'm able to eat. I typically go and watch a little TV, and then I immediately go back that night to my computer to continue working. I typically am not able to get all my work done during the day and need to work a little bit each evening and the weekends in order to get work done. I have my computer set up in my home specifically for me. The desk which the computer sits on was a typical desk that you buy at a store, and I had my friends modify the legs so that I could have it sitting on the floor at my height. I have a similar Kensington mouse to operate with my shoulder, and I once again type with my pen in order to do the text on my home computer. My front door is an automatic door opener, which I have a remote control that sits on the armrest of my wheelchair. It's operated with two buttons. One locks and unlocks the deadbolt, and the second button opens and closes the door. The remote control is fixated to the armrest with Velcro, and I have Velcro on each one of my wheelchairs so that I can put the door opener on it. The door opener costs $2,000. It's very important that I have that door opener for my own safety. I live by myself for the most part, and I need to be able to get in and out in the emergency. It has a backup battery system, so if the electricity were to go out, the door opener will still work for up to 8 hours. As you can see, living life with a severe disability independently is possible. You just need to be able to be adaptive and creative in the things that you do.
Thank you, Mr. DeVilder. Mr. DeVilder is now exploring smart home strategies to help with home lighting and appliances. Some of these are voice-driven through a computer microphone or run by smartphone or TV remote control. Here's a prototype robot helper. He's a robot with a cute face designed to be strong and gentle both. Still in demo, but perhaps coming soon. You saw how Mr. Kelly and Mr. DeVilder use their computers. Computer access has come to be pretty much essential to education, work, and social life these days. But many people face challenges in making that work. Tools that help include mouse controls and pointers, alternative keyboards, speech recognition software, and other software adaptations like spell check, sticky keys, word prediction, screen readers, and task organizers. Why is this important? Computer skill is the strongest indicator of competitive employment for people with mobility impairments. This gentleman, who has no use of his upper extremities, can work from home using a sip and puff controlled tilt-in-space wheelchair and a sip and puff driven computer. And when it comes to computer access, it's important to consider the importance of these tools in breaking down social barriers and linking us all to one another. These are some of the social networking sites we all use: Facebook, MySpace, disabilitiesrus.com, inspire.com, and disaboom.com. And this shot of Johnny Kelly again with his wife Alicia, a certified occupational therapy assistant. I put this here because the two of them met on a social dating site and fell in love before she ever knew he used a wheelchair. What's coming in the world of computers? Google Glass for hands-free voice control access, smartwatches linked to smartphones for health monitoring, and this lady is testing a robot arm driven by her own thoughts to get a sip of water. You can get Google Glass and the smartwatches now. The mind-driven robot, not yet. We typically use all sorts of reminder systems to help us manage our failing memory. Sticky notes, timers. This is a guy named Clocky, who is an alarm clock that rolls off your desk, screaming in the morning until you get out of bed to turn him off. And here's a helicopter version of Clocky. Probably the earliest version of a reminder system was just a string on your finger. In my recent research, I've been using personal digital assistants, usually the iPad and iPod Touch. The Touch is pocket-sized, so you can use it hands-free. And it comes with lots of features that can be leveraged to help people with cognitive behavioral challenges. Organization apps, still video camera, FaceTime video calls, a built-in microphone for digital recording, voice-over accessibility to read anything on screen, background app running, application folders, and a new feature in iOS 7, the ability to scan the device using a head turn. Cognitive impairment is not just about forgetting things. It's also about task sequencing, multitasking, dealing with distractions, adapting to transitions and changes in routines, and dealing with the frustrations that come with cognitive changes. Personal digital assistants and tablets can help with all of these things. Remembering, task sequencing, finding your way in the community, managing problematic behaviors and situations, health, safety, and communication management, home and money management, academics and learning, and using the accessibility settings, sensory ability accommodations. Here's an example from some of the research that we've been doing here at the RRTC. There's an app called StoryKit designed as a way to make talking storybooks, but we use it instead to build task sequencing prompts and instructional slideshows for our clients. This young man, who has autism, is working with job coaching support at a hospital, where he spends most of the day filing medical reports. He also scans patient information and delivers faxes to doctors. He uses a spoken word reminder app, Vocal, to help transition from task to task. He uses the onboard Notes app for other instructions. But his biggest problem is that he can't get the hang of alphabetizing. So how is he going to do his filing? Well, his job coach, Alyssa Molinelli, used StoryKit to walk him through those steps as shown here. He swipes the screen to go from step to step in the process with each file that he seeks to put away. And here's how it works. This clip shows him filing before StoryKit prompting.
Where?
Find out. WSS.
Do we get to just stick it in the middle? Or do we have to find it alphabetically?
Find alphabetically.
So do we start at the back of the shelf or do we start at the beginning?
Beginning. W-L-L.
Hmm?
R-E-D.
R-E-D what?
R-E-D-D. R-E-D-D. R-E-D-F.
R-E-D-F what?
R-E-D-F-E.
And what do you have in your hand?
Hello.
Hey there.
As you can see, he's needing 100% supervision to get the job done. On this next clip, we'll see him file a document after the StoryKit slideshow is put in place.
Yes, ma'am. What is his first name?
Unfortunately, Dr. Dew's next opening, no ma'am, her next opening's not until September. That's why they brought you in with her physician's assistant. Yes, ma'am.
Oh. Okay.
Well,
You want
Ashley
to
can,
get the
physician's
number?
assistant, if she needs to. She can do everything that Donna or the doctor does.
They're just gonna gather.
2814
Yes, ma'am.
673
Okay. Thank you.
2814.
Just think of what time it is. Think of what time it is.
It's been over a year now, and though he still cannot alphabetize on his own, he uses the app every time to get the job done. A couple of other new cognitive technologies may be of interest to you. There are free QR code reading apps that allow you to post QR codes around the office, linked to YouTube videos. When a worker needs help with a particular task, such as running a printer, you just pass your phone over the code and the video opens on the phone to walk you through those steps. And I've been working with wrist-worn activity and sleep monitors to provide telehealth interventions too. Some of our oldest assistive technologies, probably dating back to wax candles, help us see better. But with the arrival of touchscreen tablets and phones, blind people faced a real challenge. Without buttons, how could they navigate a flat screen? Well, Apple heard that plea. And here's Tommy Edison, the blind film critic, to show you how he uses accessibility tools to navigate his iPhone as fast as a sighted person.
Today I want to show you how the iPhone works. A lot of you guys have been asking, I see you using an iPhone, but how does it work for you? Well, I'm going to show you. So a lot of devices have this thing that you probably never even thought to use or check out or anything. It's called accessibility.
Accessibility button.
That'll show you all different sorts of things, how to turn a speech on and off of your phone to white on black, black and white, maybe mono audio. There's all sorts of different things to do. So I just use the voiceover one and it works incredible.
Voiceover on button.
But it's a very cool thing and it allows me to use something that has a touch screen
104.
just like you do.
Slide or double tap.
So each thing,
Double tap to open.
touch it once, it tells you what it is, twice to perform the action.
Notes. Maps. Stocks. YouTube.
And then to move to the different screens, 3 fingers to go left like this.
Page 2 of 4. Game Center.
So let me show you how some of this stuff works.
Twitter. Double tap to open.
So let's. All right, so let's see what's going on in the Twitter universe today.
Chris Moyles. For those watching Love Machine, the girl next to me is actually 8 foot tall, which is why I look short.
Why don't I tweet something?
New tweet button. Text field is editing.
All right, so when I tweet, I generally cheat and use Siri. It's easier that way.
Dictate.
Happy Easter, comma, from the blind film critic.
Happy Easter from the blind film critic.
See, pretty innocuous, nice little tweet. So let's put it up.
Tweet button.
One of the things I don't think people get is when you talk to Siri, if you add the punctuation yourself, it works so well. Period. All right, so let's try YouTube now. I mean, Jesus, this is our home.
YouTube.
So let's look at the bottom here. All the stuff is down here.
Selected. Featured.
Right.
Tab. 1 of
Believe me,
5.
I know her so well.
Most viewed.
Most
Tab.
viewed.
Search. Tab.
Search.
Favorites.
Favorites.
Tab. More.
And
Tab.
more, right?
5 of 5.
So let's go to favorites.
Tab.
See what's going on in the world.
Favorites. The Hunger Games 2012. Star Bright Eyes Movie Review Star.
All right.
340.
340 views?
Duration. 6 minutes. 9 seconds. 100% alike. Submitted by Bridie S. Long Lashes.
Bridie ass. Sorry, love. That's the way it says it. I can't help it.
Submitted by Bridie S. Long Lashes. The Hunger Games 2000. Landscape.
It's the first one.
Controls hidden.
How wonderful the weather is in Manchester.
All right, so there you go. That's Hunger Games. That's the way YouTube works, right? Thank you so much.
Oh. New notification from messages. 404 04 at Buster at Blind Film Criticum. It's only Palm Sunday. Twitter.
Well, it is, isn't it? Easter's next week. Wow.
Swipe up or down to adjust the value.
Who knew you could do that?
Physical and motor. Heading. Assistive touch. Off button.
Assistive touch. That costs a lot of money on 11th Avenue in Manhattan.
Assistive touch.
There are lots of other apps for people with vision and hearing impairments. Magnifiers, money readers, voice-navigated maps. These gloves, still in demo, read the movements of sign language and translate them into spoken English. And engineers are getting very close to amputee prostheses that have a sense of touch. So much is happening so fast in the world of assistive technology. We've only been able to touch on a few things in this hour. But I wanted to briefly highlight the service side of AT too. How do you find this stuff? What's the best fit for me? How will I be trained to use it? Who pays? Well, AT provision is best provided by a team, and that team may include these players. The client is always seen as the expert and final user, a caregiver, an employer, co-workers, a rehab counselor, an occupational therapist, and job coach, supported employment specialist, and assistive technology practitioners. Any or all of these members of a team could and should be a part of an assistive technology selection process. In a person-centered, problem-solving approach, key questions to address include visioning, what could I do if I had this? Assessment of skills and needs in the workplace. Asking not just what jobs I'm good at, but what activities on the job require supports and which do not. A look at the cost and benefits of various versions and adaptations. Do you have an option to rent or borrow the AT for trial and error? Can you work with the employer, the job coach, and co-workers all together on site to make this work? Who will act as a team leader and facilitator? And who will provide follow-along and revision as AT evolves and as your needs change? When you're looking at devices, there's a simple to complex strategy that might look something like this. Start with modifying the task parameters without AT. Then move to use commercially available products. You may then want to combine two technologies that are not typically used together. Modify an existing commercial device. Go to a rehabilitation-specific product. And finally, fabricate a new device if there's nothing out there on the market that works. You may also want to consider task adaptations, including simplifying, automation and delegation, planning ahead, pacing yourself, using organizational software strategies, and communication. And if you're going to be using AT on the job, or if you're working with someone with an impairment of some sort who is just starting work, it's important to take the time to address employer and coworker concerns about AT and about this new worker. Some of these questions may surprise you. He's got an easier job than I do. She's not safe here. Our insurance cost will go up. Now everyone will want the same accommodation. Expect subpar work. I don't want outsiders making accommodations or changes to my office. You need to be able to address these questions with coworkers and with the employer so that everyone has a happy workplace. When you acquire a device, think of the vendor as your partner, but always ask these questions of the vendor. What service is provided? Do you loan or trial AT with users? Do you provide training on the device? What happens if it breaks? How fast can you repair and return it? And what does this all cost? And provide follow-along on site in the places where the AT will be used. Can this guy, for instance, reach the lobby ATM at his job? Ongoing assessment and follow-along is an important part of any AT provision. Finally, if you're helping someone at work, don't forget that a job has a social component too. Where do coworkers go after hours? Can your client access those places in order to socialize? Unfortunately, many of us find ourselves recommending AT without a lot of training beforehand. A team approach is always better. But if this happens to you, seek advice and remember these things. You may be a therapist, but in this case, you're also a technician. You're going to need to provide follow-along and maintenance as you go along. Build collaboration and buy-in, not just from the user, but from the people around her or him. You're going to want to keep everything transparent so everyone knows what the rules are as you go along. And a good rule of thumb is don't start with something too new or too weird. Seek help and share. As we all know, there are issues with technology. It breaks, it requires maintenance, it evolves, it can be both liberating and confining. What is this human cyborg movement? It's our lifestyle in the 21st century. As we become more and more linked to our machines, we're all a part of it now. Finally, How do we pay for these tools? This list is just a start, including resources for students, workers, and others. I'll go through the list. In school, the early intervention programs through the IDEA Act, Head Start. In public schools, an IEP or Section 504 accommodation. Once you're out in the workplace, vocational rehab services, the Social Security Administration, and Medicaid can help. There are low-interest loans available in most states. You also may turn to nonprofit disability associations, foundations, civic organizations, charities, fundraisers, and used equipment sales or leasing. As much creativity and diligence is needed to pay for these things as we need in selecting and training people to use them. In the last hour, we've looked at, in a cursory way, at the world of assistive technology. There's so much more to learn. Just keep in mind, the right tool in the right hands with the right training can eliminate disability. And more tools are available every day. See the RRTC website for additional information on the topics that have been mentioned here. Thank you. This is Tony Gentry at VCU. You can contact me at logentry@vcu.edu, and I hope you will. Cheers.